Welcome everybody to Oceanside Library's Poetry Near and Afar. We're delighted to welcome everybody to this ongoing series, which started during lockdown and which continues, runs September through May. June, July, and August will be outside at the Summer Gazebo readings, which we also stream, so you could pick us up there as well, but it's a little different format. We will be starting our 19th season this June, which is pretty cool. I think we're getting. I don't know how many other series are around that are older than us, but um, it's a lot of fun. But this one is a lot of fun too. This has been a lot of met a lot of very nice people from around the world. And so, without any further ado, I give you our first feature, Kai Perraun.
Hi, thank you, Tony. Would it be okay if I started with a poem by someone else?
It's your 20 minutes. If you want to sit there and read from the Washington Post today, that's your 20 minutes.
Okay, great. This is by my stepdaughter, Vanessa, who's just here listening. She's got her screen blanked. And she goes by the name The Real Vanessa. If you can put that in the chat, please, Vanessa, so people can look you up. And she wrote this wonderful pastiche of Boots by Rudyard Kipling. And I hope I do it justice. It's called Pain, Chronic Illness, because she suffers from a chronic illness. We're people, fight, fighting for our lives. Appointment, appointment, day after day. Pain, pain, moving all around again. There's no discharge from my body. 3, 5, 7, 4, 5 appointments each week. 4, 6, 3, 5 the weeks before. Pain, moving all around again. There's no discharge from my body. Don't. Look at what your life was like. Pain, moving all around again. I go sad with watching everyone, and there's no discharge from my body. Try to think of something different. Oh my God, keep me from going lunatic. Pain, moving all around again. There's no discharge from my body. Count the days till I'm better. If you try to be normal, you will pay for it. Pain, moving all around again. There's no discharge from my body. We can be cured of so many things, but not the chronic illness. Pain, moving all around again, and there's no discharge from my body. Tain't so bad by day if you're lucky to have company, but night brings long strings of deep, dark thoughts. Pain, moving all around again. There's no discharge from my body. I have lost 1.5 years in this purgatory. It is not fire, devils, dark, or anything, but the pain, moving all around again, and there's no discharge from my body. The Real Vanessa. And I can really relate to a lot of this poem because I suffer from schizophrenia, which is a chronic illness. I don't have bodily pain, but I have mental pain. And I can really relate to her feeling of pain. So I am the author of Miraculous Sickness, publisher at Bay Press, available online at Amazon or Indigo in Canada. I think it's available on the States and Amazon.com. I'm not sure. It's about the treatment of schizophrenia throughout the ages and my personal experience with it. And it was shortlisted for a couple of awards, the High Plains First Book Award and the Stephen G. Stephenson Poetry Award. I'd like to start out, however, with something newer. And if you can let me know if I'm coming close to the time, please, somebody. Maybe give me a, a thumbs up or something when I got a few minutes left. Would that be okay? Or
Yeah. I got your time. We're good.
okay, great, thanks. This is called Lost Days. Days lost to deep dreams, sleep stealing hours and motivation. Sedated, I am kind and thoughtful. You don't want to see that other side of me, believing ill of all and frightened into passive aggression. No, the shots and pills smooth my edges like river stones, the ones we were given in the healing circle, where I prayed and placed tobacco at the base of a tree. Another modality, another complement to the arsenal of chemistry unleashed on my disease. Am I a warrior or survivor, or a fairy tale character awaiting your kiss? I smudge and sing softly so as not to wake myself. That was accepted in the spring for the spring issue of Rat's Ass Review. I'm not sure where they're out of, they're online. This next poem was accepted by Pleiades for the spring 2024 issue, and it's also online with Project Muse, Johns Hopkins University. And it's based on something my grandmother said, who also suffered from mental illness. She said, "Am I alone in my madness?" And that just struck me all these years ago. It still strikes me. It's called Reality Shoes. I tremble metaphorically in my reality shoes. Nothing is comfortable. Everyone's talking in my third ear. The future bleeds into the present. The distance comes near. I swallow more pills. Alone in my madness, as my grandmother feared. This next poem is called Medicated, and it's been shortlisted by Kaleidoscope magazine, another American magazine. Days go by and the warm blanket of sleep softens the mind, rendering time liquid and opaque. So much transpires in the world unwitnessed by us, the somnolent seekers of reprieve. Where we suffered, we sleep. Where we raged, we drool. Where we cowered in corners seeking safety from intangible threats, we lie, heads resting on arms, dreaming vivid scenes. In our waking hours, our slack jaws and stiff gait render our compliance obvious. You can spot the newly released from a distance, shuffling in rumpled clothing to day programs, plump and pale. Eventually, drugs metabolize sweetly, and we pass for normals on the street. Then, questions we cannot answer without giving away our histories, gaps in resumes and residence, education interrupted. We skim the surface or stick to our own kind, the need to be accepted like raw hunger. Those who are employed live with the threat of relapse from stress. Those who are not struggle to fill the few waking hours bequeathed us by treatment with meaningful activity. This is not to invoke pity, but understanding. What small windows we peer out of, what large demands we perceive. And this next couple of poems is from manuscript that is currently under consideration by a publisher in Saskatchewan about my father and our relationship, and it's called Salt. And my father's father homesteaded in a place in sort of central southern Alberta, eastern southern Alberta, called Hardisty, Alberta. And apparently there was a meteorite that fell near the area, which the natives found sacred. And it was appropriated by missionaries and brought to a church. And it was finally given back to them and housed in the museum. And when they built a new museum, they hired an elder to transport and do a ceremony with that sacred stone. And I was fortunate enough to meet with that elder. His name is John Cryer. And the stone is known as the child who fell from the sky. Sage and sweetgrass, smudge of sacred stone. Young god of nickel and celestial rock, visible in profile, gift from the heavens, protected by prayers and secrecy. Elder accompanies Awasis Kotakochik Kisikok, the child who fell from the sky as it travels to its new resting place. Stolen from its landing bed by a Methodist missionary looking for converts amongst those who survived starvation, smallpox blankets, guns, and the slaughter of the buffalo. Wars for food and plagues ensuing as prophesied. Now it is preparing to return as the wise man, survivor of residential school, returns to ancient ceremonies to ensure its safekeeping, to honor its journey. Many stories to be shared on days of snow and ice, not now, with our small window of time and naive queries, the legacy of oppression and genocide, appropriation and demonization, summoning our tears. This is a poem about my father, who was a blue-collar worker, a construction superintendent, and he liked Trump. He's my late father now, but he liked Trump. So we really had our disagreements politically and philosophically. But he was a wonderful man who worked very hard to keep his family going, and he was very honest. And I call this his hands. Scarred and rough as 360 grit sandpaper, fingertip on left hand, victim of a power saw, nail thick and blunt, skin graft porous where the print should be. His hands built monoliths and mansions, sheds and homes, hotels and industrial sites. They held me when I was an infant, carried me across the road to the neighbor when the furnace blew in our old house and fire seared my mother's face. His arms, strong and steady, extended across the passenger seat when he braked in those days before seatbelt laws. Not a doctor's hands, he was fond of repeating. Though he half-heartedly threatened, he never raised his hand against me. Still, he scared me, gruff of voice and temperament, often gone out of town to work and prone to silence. Larger than life, those hands. And this next poem was written after my father's passing. It's called Speaking with Silence, and it begins with a quote by the great poet Lorna Crozier. She lives in Victoria and was married to Patrick Lane, a great poet, Canadian poets. And when Patrick passed, she wrote a book and she called it After That. And this is the quote, speak slowly with many pauses between the words. It's those pauses that are doing the work. The one you cannot hear can hear them, end quote. Can you hear me where you are, if you are? Do my words resonate with your experience of this plane where pain overtakes joy? Will you be back in a new form? The lessons you learned at the hands of stepfathers, bosses, family, and crew, influencing your actions and worldview? Shall I light a stick of incense or sage and sweetgrass smudge to welcome you home? Or would you prefer a Pilsner beer poured on the earth your ashes now fertilize? I sing you a song, my voice is tuneless as yours, and expect no reply, but this warmth I feel holds my heart from beyond. Thank you. And I don't know how I'm doing for time here. How many minutes do I have left, Tony?
You are doing 5:30, at 7 more minutes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I should have kept track on the computer here. This is the first poem in this book, Miraculous Sickness, and it starts again with a quote, this time by Mark Vonnegut, Kurt Vonnegut's son, who suffers from mental illness but went on to become a pediatrician. And he wrote a wonderful memoir I highly recommend if it's still in print, called The Eden Express. Quote, it took quite a bit to convince us that anything as pedestrian as biochemistry was relevant to something as profound and poetic as what I was going through. For me to admit the possibility that I might not have gone nuts again had they given me pills when I left was a tremendous concession. It's such a poetic affliction from inside and out. It's not hard to see how people have assumed that schizophrenia must have poetic causes and that any therapy would have to be poetic as well. A lot of my despair at ever getting well was based on the improbability of finding a poet good enough to deal with what happened to me, end quote. So I wrote, Poet Enough. 2 decades of pointing to the moon of lunacy, and the finger is studied. The fantastic, the surreal experience of madness too complex, intricate, divorced from reality to do justice with words. I am not poet enough, though I am mad. I was wont to lie on the couch of analysis to free associate and wax poetic, but was instead offered pills, syringes, liquids chased by juice, by science-oriented doctors wearing white coats. When my mind was sufficiently righted by those pedestrian means, I struggled to convey the land I traveled, but could produce only blurred photos, in words, static representations of the dynamic dream. Now I depict the care given those with similar afflictions in poems written from recovery, and pray I am poet enough to give voice to those whose silence screams to be acknowledged. Invisible victims whose suffering at the hands of healers was inexcusable. I speak for them now, in verse, identify with their impotence in the face of authority, their confusion at minds gone awry. A poetic condition, as a future MD noted, one that goes beyond mere fact, with a history of treatment that reads like a horror novel or a very dark poem. And I went on to detail some of the horrific treatments at the hands of doctors, but I won't read that today. Instead, I'll read about my impression of the existential renegade psychiatrists of the 50s and 60s who thought that schizophrenia was close to enlightenment. People like Thomas Zatz and R.D. Laing, for those of you who are old enough to remember that. Incandescent, brief shining. That there is no clearly defined I has caused some maverick philosophers and anti-psychiatrists to postulate those afflicted by schizophrenia are closer to enlightenment than normals. Sifting delusion and word salad for truth, hallucination for insight, these renegade scholars wore their hearts on their sleeves, craved salvation synthesis. From the hell of psychosis to the heights of omniscience, from paranoia to wisdom, prescience. Better the syringe, the elixirs which broach schisms between thoughts and affect, action. Better lucidity than questionable prophecy. Better a primer than Nostradamus's cryptic stanzas. While only one sentence in a monologue of yours may come to fruition, I say, better the real, better the real. And finally, the end poem called Seasonal. Seasonal. Madness, come to call it Christmas, remain until Valentine's, renders the world small as a pearl and as pale. Odin winks in graying drifts, sunlight rare and smudged. Please leave a message, I am nowhere to be found. Love me not. Suicide notes bordered by lace. Overdose with a wine's bouquet. Humpty Dumpty has nothing on me, with my hammering shoe, my self-help glue, and welder's torch of reason. Dear doctor, dealer with degrees, the drugs you dole out, more pure than the harvest, explode like popcorn in the skull. Archaeologists of the mind, they unearth history, choreograph ghosts. They bring the sweet balm of sleep. You demand nothing but words, glimpses into the realms of lunacy, which you write with chemicals. Alchemist, you transform. Confidant, your lips are sealed as a tomb. Holy hosts beneath my tongue melt to calm. I rest in the eye of a brainstorm. Tra-la, my shuffling gait, my stone face. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Whoops, there we go. Thank you so much. You can unmute yourselves if everybody wants to give a nice round of applause.
Thank
Wonderful. All right. I will remind everybody, if you do not want to be in the open mic, tell me in the chat. Otherwise, I assume everybody does. And so without any further ado, our good friend, Linda Dickman.
Hi. I'm going to start with a poem and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the book. I'm proud of this poem because it's what I got in trouble for 40 years. It's called Shh. The library is a quiet place. Don't you know you can't sing and dance? Walking on the tables is strictly forbidden. Dress-up clothes? A hat rack? You must be crazy. Shh. Oh, what? You're who? The librarian? Oops. So that is me. I was a children's librarian for over 40 years, and my favorite genre of literature is the picture book. And I started learning to love the picture book as a trainee when adults would come in looking for information about a subject or a picture, and they only wanted a little bit of information to start. And so they would come to the children's room to discover a picture, a nonfiction book, something that would help them with their subject, and decide whether or not they wanted to move forward with going to the adult room. This book is described as an ekphrastic work with a twist. So what I did was take children's books that have touched me over my career and made them my own. So the first one that I'm going to read to you is called The Storytelling Princess. It's based on The Storytelling Princess by Rafe Martin. The Storytelling Princess for Rafe Martin and for the Cavalier Teacher. Dad was always telling me I should go to the Presbyterian Church, the one in Northport. I should meet a professional man. I would have none of it. I had to do it on my own. I wrote out a prayer, a list of things that were absolutely a priority. I prayed on it, literally, then spent too many years trying to help God fill the list. He was set up with a nice red-headed girl whose parents were ministers, whose grandparents had braved the West in wagons, on buckboards, or something. He asked if he could bring a friend along on a sailing date. No one was prepared for me, with my one-strap polka-dotted bathing suit, my Mulligan Stew faith journey, my Catholic roots, my previous marriage. We played out our story at Radio Shack with Tom and Jane Sawyer taking classic notes. He was the Cavalier's teacher. I was the matronly student, the matronly librarian who married the Cavalier teacher at the Presbyterian Church in Northport. Okay, so that's true. That's my husband. I married my computer teacher.
Huh.
Okay, the next one I want to, this is dedicated, this is The Sea Chest by Tony Bezeo, who is a librarian. And it is a remarkable story of a baby that survived a shipwreck to be adopted. It's called The Sea Chest for Sarah Hahn, for Tony Bezeo. You did not come by boat or car or train. There was no shipwreck, no sealed and bound chest containing your precious life. You were coming. We made preparations. Oh, celebrations. Off to the airport, chatting with other expectants. You came with your Dahlbach, adorned with your name, accompanied, wrapped round in a greeting quilt, locked in by your new brother, his joy uncontained. Your parents loved you so much, they were willing to cast you upon a new country, a new family. We did not name you Windborn, but we could have. That's for my late niece, Sarah. Thank you. This one, I tried to pick books that you might be familiar with as well, and maybe you've heard this one. It's The Little House by Virginia Lee Burton. It's about a house that moves from the country to the city. And it's just adorable. And I made it mine. The Little House, inspired by Virginia Lee Burton for Grandma Gazelski's Woods. Once upon a time, there was an orchard on a pretty little hill right across from Mrs. G's woods. The farmer sold the land, Orchard Farms was born, and so was the little girl who moved to 436. The little girl was very happy at 436. She made friends, played baseball with the boys and girls in the neighborhood. They played in the backwoods, built forts, played tightrope on the log over the gully. By and by, the little girl moved to 1951 on a Navy base in California. She loved California. She missed 436. She was growing up. 436 was always home. The White Mountains called her away to go to college. She was always joyful to come home to 436, which welcomed her like an old friend. She married, went back to school. The White Mountains offered no protection against his darkness. 436 sent a hero to rescue her, bring her home once more. Just a remnant of Mrs. G's woods left. Number 8 was her first solo apartment until the pond decided to trickle in. Easter found her back at 436, healing, getting ready to leave once more. She left in a flurry of white and rain, married 10 Brittany. They moved to 393, then to 41. 436 remained her anchor. Everything else came and went. Her sailor dad and his only mate passed. Slowly, 41 moved to 436. Their two little girls played, made friends at school, babysat for the neighbors, and bonded with the people who lived in the farmhouse where the orchard began, right across from Mrs. G's woods.
Very nice. Very nice. Very moving.
Thank you. I'm working on getting through these things, Tony.
We're there with you.
I know, and I'm thankful for that. Okay. There was a wonderful Hudson River School painter by the name of Thomas Locker. And I want to tell the story about this because it was always about what the kids wanted in the library. And this little girl liked his painting so much, and she said, "Can you invite him to come speak to us?" And I thought, I got nothing to lose. I called the publisher. She gave me his phone number and his address, and then said, "Oops, I wasn't supposed to tell you that. Forget I did." I said, "What phone number? What address?" And I called him, and I sent an email, and he got back to me, and he came to New York. He came down from the Hudson River to Long Island. And another former student was the limousine driver who brought him in. So it was just a great story of how he got here. His home was always the Storm King, which is a big mountain on the Hudson River. So this is called Home for Thomas Locker. Planted as a tree by the waters, he brushed with life daily. Storm King, overseeing the invincible river. Tom captured it, carried it, was baptized by the almighty Hudson. It was his story, it was his song, painting the Hudson all the day long. Discovered by a young one in a small library on a sound not far from Hudson's mouth. A poem was written, a phone call received, a meeting planned. Transplanted for a day, the sky was colored Hudson River School, that he might draw on its strength and find his way home. He was an amazing gentleman. Okay. This one is dedicated to my children. It's called How Joe the Bear and T the Mouse Got Together, and it's based on a picture book of close to the same name by Beatrix Schenk Dereniers for Teresa and Joanna. Call me Joe. Call me T. I'm looking for a house. I'm looking for an apartment. I love the East Coast. I love the West Coast. We cannot live together. No, we cannot live together. I like to take walks. I like to take walks. We can walk together. I walk at the park at night. I walk at the park in the morning. We can't walk together. No, we can't walk together. I like music. I like music. We can play music together. I like flute outside. I like piano inside. We cannot play music together. We cannot play music together. I love to create. I love to create. I create stories and knit things. I create graphics and design things. We create together. Yes, we do create together. Hi, T. Hi, Joe. What are you doing now? It's Sunday. I'm getting ready for popcorn and ice cream. It's Sunday. I'm getting ready for popcorn and ice cream. What kind of ice cream? Oh, I eat all kinds. I eat all kinds too. So every Sunday, Joe the bear, yes, every Sunday, T the mouse, have popcorn and ice cream together, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, enjoying each other and a movie. Wait, what movie? Okay, so this one, I'm gonna close with this one. There's, librarians can't help but tell stories that we just can't. This one's dedicated to my husband. It's called The Valentine Bears. And this is the story that it's based on. For my own soft bear and for Eve Bunting. Mrs. Bear and Mr. Bear rarely shared a winter day. Hibernation got in the way. Mrs. Bear set the clock for winter, Valentine's. She planned a special waking time. The alarm went off. Mr. Bear just kept snoring. She went off to do her choring. Stored up his favorite fresh-made jam, strawberry, and peanut butter, smooth and merry. Wrote a poem or two or three about the love that came to be years ago between he and she. Placed the poems, set the table, went to wake him up. No luck. He kept snoring, covers tucked. She tugged his ear. She kissed his eyes. Nothing. All she heard were mumbling strange new words, all sorts. She couldn't wait. She went outside, filled the tin with icy stream. Went back in to disturb his dream. He popped up. Surprise! Surprise! She spilled the water on her dress. They both helped to clean up the mess. Laughter shared the day. So sweet. Peanut butter, jam, and chocolate too. Kisses, poems, and hugs a few. Back to sleep until the spring. Their first Valentine's success. Smiling, snoring together, pressed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Linda. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Linda.
You're welcome.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go around the horn with the open mic. Again, as always, one non-epic length poem or short story, Larry. So we want to hear from Larry. I always say poems, but Larry's is always one of my favorite parts. So we're going to start with Robert Rubino, and then Emily Sue, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. Coming to you from the San Francisco Bay Area. Word nerd. Monday's newspaper crossword, the week's easiest, although even that one sometimes stumps. Such simple satisfaction to fill in those blanks, with bold statements of red ink, no less, sometimes. Although other times having to messily turn one word or two or three or more into one or two or three different words. 3-letter words, 4-letter words, no, not those kind, and 5 and 6 and 7-letter words, even a string of 12 or 15 blanks of multi-word combos. Easy clues and not so easy clues. But on Mondays, easy enough clues. Sports clues, the favorites. Movie clues, the next favorite. In the finest, most careful printing that would make those nuns proud, those ivory soap and rose water and mimeograph ink scented gray nuns of the Sacred Heart of long ago, the 1 down and the 55 across and all the others eventually get solved. Eventually. And with Monday's crossword, there's a renewed feeling of fun and fundamental humble respect for that nourishing soup called alphabet, those basic building blocks of literacy, those assembly line shapes and symbols at the busy, bustling, ever humming word factory. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Robert. Wonderful as always. All right, Emily Sue, you're up, and Ann Cohn, you're on deck.
Okay, hi, everybody. I'm in Huntington Station on Long Island. Great features, Kai and Linda, and thanks again, Tony, for hosting. This poem was just published this week in an online magazine called Mocking Heart Review. They do a lot of social justice work. So it's called On the Line. No amount of swiping coaxed money from the card. The card, she insisted, held $150. The cashier, calm and kind, tested the card over and over until they had to agree, no money, no groceries. The woman apologized to the cashier, to the line of customers, a line that snaked halfway down a long aisle. No one huffing or puffing or complaining, except to wonder why only one register was open on a late Monday morning. I'm so embarrassed, her parting words. The cashier flipped the belt switch. The air fizzed again with the buzz of business. A woman next in line asked the cashier, did that happen often? First week of the month, he said, the cards sometimes don't work. So this wasn't just some credit card mishap. This was a broken lifeline. That must have been hard for you, I said as I watched my credit card pass muster. Patience. I found the secret to patience, the philosopher cashier said. Don't anticipate. His reply, not what I expected. At home, with cupboards restocked, my questions lingered. What about the ones who will go hungry tonight? If I had been next in line, would I have covered her bill? Would I have? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Ann, you're up, and Jill, you're on deck.
Oh, what a wonderful evening, Tony. Everything
wasn't
is just very, very heartfelt.
Yep.
I have a poem this evening called Spare Glove, and it's a true story. Why is it so difficult to discard a single brown glove? Pulling it on, I almost hear knitting needles clicking as steadily as a metronome. Oh, the countless hours you spent watching TV while creating a lifetime supply of sweaters and woolen accessories shielding me from Arctic blasts on a northern New York college campus. No law of attraction will ever reunite this glove with its mate. Still, I conclude a 5-decade search by carefully tucking the survivor in the storage bin. You never know when a spare glove will come in handy while scraping an icy windshield.
There you go. Thank you, Ann. All right, Jill, you're up, and Vanessa, you're on deck.
I thank you for having me, and thank you to the two poets who already shared. It was very well done. My poem is called Infiltration. It's the first prose poem I've ever written. The invasion is deployed without warning one morning before work. Swollen shut eyes, scorched skin, insatiable itch. The battalion spreads to breach the impaired epidermal barrier function while I am busy doing other things like surviving as I only know how. The insurgency fades out as quickly and furtively as it arrives, although I am sure it will return like some uninvited guest, never knowing how long the stay will be. The next time, the ambush is aimed at my hands and my neck. I rip them raw to make it stop. The infiltrations continue over the years as the enemy warriors battle the ineffective weapons I use to rally against. They burn their way out like the unquenchable wildfires. The biological warfare is too powerful for my weak army of steroids and creams that only add to the fray. The unrelenting cycle holds me hostage as a POW within my own skin. Thank you.
Thank you very
Wow.
much. Jill, where are you joining us from?
Oh, Green Lawn, Long Island.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have Vanessa, you're up, and Maggie, you're on deck.
I thought Vanessa put in the chat that she was just here to listen.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Vanessa. Thank you. I must have missed it. All right. Joanne, are you ready?
Yes. From
Joanne,
Massapequa.
I apologize. Joanne, you're up, and then Maggie, you're on deck.
Okay. I'm from Massapequa, New York. And this is, I do a lot of soul writing or free flow writing. And this is entitled Brief. Brief. Oh, to be brief. A tidal wave of words overtake my mind. Oh, to be brief. Thoughts flooded with every iteration of every nuance. Rewrite, rework, reject. Get it just right. In solitude, the morass of dialogue muddies the cleansing peace. Oh, to be brief. Sleep eludes me. Words guided by the internal and external. Even the hair on my head speaks to me. Even the ache in my back shouts at me, and I must pay attention. Yet there is a moment. There is always a moment, no matter how brief, that there is silence. Sometimes it's fleeting. Sometimes it's nearly missed. But when the sweet silence comes, when the nothingness envelops me and wraps me up in the lavender healing light, I wonder. Why must I wonder? That is noise. Why must I wonder? It is spoiled. Oh, to be brief. The tick of the clock beckons me. The whir of electricity in the air cannot leave me be. Oh, to be brief. For when that moment comes, and it will come, this time I will not wonder.
Oh, thank you very much, Joanne.
Thank you.
I'm a Massapequa boy, and as is Bruce. We both grew up in Massapequa together. Okay, so Maggie, you're up, and Steps, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Maggie Bloomfield from West Hampton Beach, New York. Oh, what wonderful features tonight. Both of you were just so moving. This poem is called In Hiding. There is a secret room in our basement. We discovered it after we moved in, under the stairs, obscured by a board on the door with sharps. I suppose the board held keys, lots of keys. How many keys does one family need? We store our luggage there. If we remove the suitcases, put them in one of two other rooms elsewhere in the 1960s decorated basement with a wet bar, we can easily fit a family of 3 or 4 immigrants, or possibly 2 big trans women into that room. If we place a large piece of furniture in front of the door, like Germany during the Holocaust, think Anne Frank, or the genocide in Rwanda, where 8 women survived in a tiny bathroom for 91 days, we could slip them food and help them remain safe, at least until we have to hide there ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you very much. All right, Steps, you're up, and Mark, you're on deck.
Hi, how you doing? I'm from Central Islip. Steps, I'm also a part of the Scene magazine. I know some of you guys know it. For those who don't know it, we're a magazine that actually puts out local poetry going from the Bridges to the Forks. That is Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk. But other than that, I'm actually here as just Steps today. So I'm currently writing something for a book that I'm working on. And I'm going to read one of the poems that I just wrote. Sorry, the thing just went away. Here we go. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Sadness became a stalker of a broken man's insight. Closely tailed depression flipped aggressive anxiety, a property of selfish individuality. Heads, misrepresented contingency, egotistical eyes, buried discipline, or tails. Light bulbs with sparks of plummeted illumination, eliminated. Let's elaborate.
I'll have to swing it.
Quarter
So
of
I don't want to be eating here in the picture.
Sorry about that. Marvin, you gotta mute yourself, bud. Get steps.
sorry, I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, just go back a little bit.
Heads, misrepresented contingency, egotistical eyes, buried, discipline. Or tails, light bulbs with sparks, a plummeted illusion, eliminated. Let's elaborate. Quarter of a mentality, the personality could switch with a flick. Fingerless imprint stained along the chalk line. Doubt solved. Clues soaked in paint. Ideas of prosperity quickly launched disparity towards an essence that was never yours. Soulless seas circle shells, knocking, 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 knocking. Abandoned, cracks laced pesticides can't grow. My body's poisoned. My mind's corrupted and my life mismanaged. Growth eluded my desires. I cannot grow. Forgot to sprout. Boom.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Mark, you're up, and Ron, you're on deck.
All right, Mark states from Charlotte, North Carolina. Twice in 1 week, I find myself draped across this bed like one of its blankets, cocooned in an old and tattered bathrobe. Twice in 1 week, I find myself watching a marathon session of one of my favorite television shows, and as fate or need would have it, when the TV turns on, it's one of the more sad and disturbing episodes. Episodes that on first viewing years ago had broken my heart, leaving the rest of me numb for days. Twice in 1 week, I find tears drip, drip, dripping, as if a malfunctioning faucet with no knob, lever, or screw to twist and fix the problem. Though present circumstances provide ample reasons to cry, none of these tears have been for myself. All have been for others, imaginary, fictional others on my TV. Twice in 1 week, I find myself wondering if the well of tears for myself ran dry. I stare at the closed window blinds meant to block out the nighttime streetlight outside and shrug my shoulders.
Thank you, Mark. All right. Job. Ron, you're up, and Tricia, you're on deck.
Okay. This one is going to be published in the Platform Review this month. It's called Something Wicked. Something wicked this way comes, foretold Shakespeare's witches in Macbeth. Sweet, my love, but surely you know that not everything is wicked in this world. Kindness sometimes does prevail in some domains and is known to spread its roots in life-affirming rains. But when an outburst of floodwaters of hate happens and mass destruction reigns, hope goes down the street drains. The intention to rebuild cannot resolve the loss. A lack of trust in humanity increases the cost. Scars remain that simply cannot heal. Survivors have hurt that they still can feel. I've come through the worst, and I don't know if I'm a survivor. Trouble is my companion, a sing-song of travails. Don't save your tears for sweet revenge to brighten up your day. Before you, my life was a hollow bone, lacking pith and marrow. I was caught in a piercing snare, trapped by the uncaring claws of eagles. Every moment accounted for minutes wasted, hours of repetitious boredom. I smile, but my emptiness is still showing. All about are poseurs, faking every other move. Someone tell me honestly, why am I here? Or am I here at all? Are you there? Thank you and have a pleasant night.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Okay, Tricia, you're up, and Bonnie, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Judy. No me Quitte, inspired by Nina Simone. Letting go was hard to do. The misunderstandings, the times best forgotten, the triple swords embedded into their hearts. Happiness was born a caterpillar, destined to pass time inside a cocoon, emerge as a fleeting moments before its demise. There were reasons for why this happened: the sudden planetary shift, the heart and mind in retrograde, the messed up soul contracts that got renewed. Exotic pearls made from rainwater and golden summer days couldn't support a fantasy world. Passion disappeared into ash. Songs and laughter disappeared into the sun. The sun disappeared with the queen. The king's shadow disappeared into darkness. History repeated itself, and the king must die again. Thank you.
Here, here. Thank you, Trish. Okay, Bonnie, you're up, and Bruce, you're on deck.
This is called Lost, a List, and I'm coming from Athens, Ohio. I grew up in Queens, and but now I live in the hill country of Ohio. Lost, a List. Sasha, our black and white border collie, with a friend's Brittany Spaniel. We hiked past coyote dens, flushed grouse, met neighbors, thought about how dogs might think, how circles could be better than corners. They showed back up and slept for days. Little boy Daniel on a borrowed bike. We crisscrossed roads where drivers took curves too quickly, searching for a blonde head barely higher than the handlebars. A blue K car pulled up. A man lifted a bike from the trunk, and Daniel opened a door, said, "I got found." Dane is losing his marbles, my mother-in-law mentions one Sunday afternoon from her wing chair, teacup on the snack table, minister on TV. From his lazy boy, Dane nods agreement, and I think of the marbles I've lost. Opaque, precious, out of reach, no chance of returning home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, Bruce, you're up, and Edna, you're on deck.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks Ty and Linda. Thanks Tony for setting it up. Thanks everyone for being here. This is called The Wager. I said nothing. She wagered everything on hope over fear. After suffering the devastation of making the wrong bet, I said nothing. She took the long shot over the favorite. Not only are the odds against her, the ante in is higher. I said nothing. She ushered me over to the window to cover her. I said nothing afterwards, leaving her to think that it was easy for me to handle that. I could pay any time she wanted me to. I said nothing. The same thing my parents said to me. I gambled the same way. My faith in attributes that showed can't miss in the stable and corral, but gallop can too when they open the starting gate. My parents said nothing, waiting with me to see if the next day's winnings covered any of the costs. hoping that I say nothing, waiting with her to cash in as the dreams start racing down the opening stretch. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, buddy. All right. So Edna, you're up, and Randy, you're on deck.
Okay. This is Meeting in Jerusalem. In the golden hour of late afternoon, the sun paints the old stones in shades of orange and bronze. The air is crisp, coolness lightly strokes your bare shoulders and the softness of your nape. I'm shopping for supper. A young woman I know spots me by the market. When she saw me last, I was still expecting. How lovely to see you, she says. Her joy is genuine, her smile cheerful with anticipation. What did you have? She asks, a boy or a girl? A wave of sadness washes over me. My heart lies heavy in my chest. My mind searches for words, how to console this kind soul when she hears the words, I lost the child.
Very moving. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Randy, you're up, and Marvin, you're on deck.
Scratched vinyl. Why declare you love me when you lacerate my heart? Why proclaim conduct as passion when it sullies my soul? Why test me with temptations that shove me into shame? Why allot me affection like you're rationing water in the desert? I realize too late you're a damaged blues album. Slashed, you only play tortured tunes, puncturing emotion and rupturing relationships. I'm the needle on an old vinyl that can't help but track the scratches, despite how bad the music sounds. I'm learning to choose better love, to follow the groove on a new record that plays a sweet melody. Poem.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. All right. Marvin, you're up, and Larry McCoy, you're on deck. Where'd he go? There he is. Marvin, you got to Marvin, you have to unmute yourself, Marv. Okay. Yep. Now we can hear you.
Okay, this is another poem in my portfolio of literary characters. This is The Failed Salesman Willie Loman in Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. He tells everyone he's great, but he's a failure. Linda is his long-suffering wife. His sons are Biff and Happy. You've got the goods, Willie, and everybody's buying. You could sell them the smile off your shoe shine because you've got the knack. And they're lining up, Willie. The mayor of Boston is in the waiting room, and the governor has requested an appointment. Get in line, keep in line. Because Willie, he has the line and he has the style, and you just wait your turn. The line forms here for Willie Loman. Your boys, Willie, they'll golly gee you through the door, and each put a slipper on each foot and look up Bernie. Others sell themselves to be a man in your shoes. Get in line, keep in line, because Willie Loman's here. Linda would be there, of course, more restrained perhaps, married to success so long, but her eyes always give the girl in her away.
Marvin, we lost you, Marvin.
Keep getting husband, Willie. On Pullman cars and lush hotels, luscious buyers who can't buy enough of your company. Love you and worship you. Luscious Willie, get in line, keep in line, because Willie Loman's here. So Willie of the lines of goods, mayors, governors, Pullman cars, hotel buyers, boys and Linda, Willie, what world left for you to conquer? There's nothing left, Willie.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you very much. All right, Larry McCoy.
Hi,
Judy, you're on deck.
I'm in Rockville Center. The way I see it, members of the medical profession shouldn't be immune from sarcasm. A few weeks ago, I asked my periodontist if he thought Joe Biden would pardon me before he left office. This guy said he didn't know. Didn't know? All that money spent on dental school, and the best he can do is say he doesn't know? Life has nudged me into my late 80s, and I see a lot of doctors, nurses, and therapists. I treat them the same way I treat everyone, nonstop wisecracks. During a hospital stay several years ago, a nurse asked, "Do you have any allergies?" "Yes," I responded, "Fox News." She not only laughed, she put it down on my chart. When a vascular surgeon introduced himself the day before cleaning out my left carotid artery, he said most of his patients leave the next day. I asked if they were walking or on a cart. That remark probably increased my bill by at least $1,000. This brings me to a therapy group where I've been going on and off for years. The other day, while perusing an email from this service, I read my profile. Preferred first name, Larry. Gender identity, male. Sex assigned at birth, male. Sexual orientation, lesbian. Marital status, married. So I'm a male lesbian. Does the primary care doctor I've seen for the last 20 plus years know this? And if so, why the hell hasn't he never told me this? Am I about to make medical history as a male lesbian? Or are there many others like me just fumbling their way through life and having a damn good time in the process? Biden blew it. He didn't pardon me. He lost his chance to be remembered as the first president ever to pardon a male lesbian. Bummer. Thank you.
Larry, as always, wonderful. Absolutely
Thank you.
wonderful. All right. JR, you're up.
Super. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Linda. And as always, thank you, Tony. I participate in a marathon to end the year. There's 30 days from the 15th of December into the 14th of January. Busiest time for writing, but I have my tradition of writing on the Pantone color of the year. So I just got my book. So Mocha Mousse, Pantone 17-1230. Decadent, even devilish. What else to call it? This creamy, dreamy color of chocolate and coffee combined. Elixirs I cannot live without. Smooth texture to tantalize every taste bud into submission, tongue palpating the palate, seductive, uncontrolled response. A bourbon jazz beat of spoon tilted into undulating waves of elegance, lips squeezed tight to clean the spoon's bowl, to repeat until the spoon scrapes the empty glass. My toes curl in wishing they can taste instead of smell. My eyes watering in salivation. More. We want more. Imagine it banana yellow or avocado, lime, blueberry, even raspberry could never do justice to this earthy, loam-tinted temptress with just a hint of mauve, though pinky would sound cannibalistic, more beige tint than swamp mud muck, which it indubitably is not, though I've never tasted mud, and never consider it the hue of dung from anyone or anything. Ugh, no. It's brown. Sensual, yet deep, rich, evocative of luxury, the old money kind. Stuffy, staid aristocrats with their silver spoons still scrape the glass base, and maybe, when no one is looking, lick the glass clean, and who could blame them? No wasting this nirvana. Mocha mousse. Not beetle, not moth, not monkey or bear, glorious and tactile like the nose of a moose, mighty and strong, yet soft between his nostrils. Oh, so you've petted a moose or two. Then you can't deny my vision of a natural beast who knows what he wants, no different than us. Move out of the way. More, please. We want more now. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. I will finish up with one for my cousin Kathy. Going through a little rough time now, but I wrote this a while ago. Better days. For Kathy. The cousins, all 11 of us, crammed in Aunt Johanna's sun porch, close as atoms in the original star in the moments before the universe began, threatened with bodily harm if we should try to emerge, our parents firmly believing children should be neither seen nor heard. Youthful Sundays spent playing, laughing, talking, growing together, our own first best friends. Decades passed, and like stardust after the Big Bang, we've scattered, each now the center of our own solar system, mostly converging infrequently at the occasions which mark and mar our lives. And now Kathy, 3 months my senior, answers my congratulatory call, her voice welling with impassioned joy, emotion clutching me across the miles. Kathy, the first of us cousins to be called Nana. She tells me Anthony, for she is one of only maybe 24 people who still call me by my given name. Anthony, you can't believe how a grandchild changes everything. I embrace him, and it's as if my heart grows another chamber just to hold all this love. And I tell her I plan to steal that line, and she threatens me like she did when we jostled for the big slice of birthday cake or the last of Grandma's Sunday meatballs. I promise to credit her with authorship, and so I have, but I wonder, with all these people I am so lucky to love, how many chambers does my heart already have? Thank you, everybody. So we will see you all in 2 weeks, even though it's a holiday. We will. I'll be here with you all. I hope you join us. For those of you who are new, I hope you keep coming back. If you're not on our email list, please throw your email in the chat, and please feel free to pass this around. It's I think it's a nice way to kind of span the distances between us during these times. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week and day. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much, Tony.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Tony.
Thanks, JR.